I know that defensive transition has been a focus. What maybe more specifically would you like to see your guys do?
Yeah, so that was really, it was very clear that that was the reason we lost two days ago. It starts really with the leak outs, and I think credit to JC Sheldon. She was very intentional in terms of we'd shoot the ball on the right when the ball was in the air on the rise of the shot, she's out. So we got to do a better job of that, containing those and just recognizing when there are leak outs. That means we can't apply our regular transition principles. That kind of is an override, and that means we got to go with whatever the player is leaking out and make sure we protect our basket. So we just gave up way too many of those, and I think the disparity in efficiency at the rim, the main reason why, well, a lot of Chicago's looks were one on the layups. So that was really the story of the game. So we will do a much better job cleaning that up tonight.
With Sloot playing for Chicago, how does that change things for you
Yeah,
guys on your end?
I think it's just the leadership and IQ she brings in terms of that veteran presence, in terms of so skilled at just orchestrating an offense. So, but I think for us it's more about our principles. I spoke about the transition, but I think it was, the second main factor in the last game was just our pick and roll defense. Our ball pressure was not good enough. We kind of went away from our basics. We were too far detached from the handlers, and then it made it very. We did kind of adjust and go between some different pick and roll covers, but I think once the handler has that initial separation, whatever the cover is, you're going to be exposed. So we got to make sure that our ball pressure is much better tonight. So obviously with Sloot back in, we got to make sure with all their guards handling, we do a much better job containing them at the point of attack and staying in neutral.
Hi, Coach. I'm Shimmy.
Nice to meet you.
The analyst tonight. First of all, I love your podcast interview on Sarah Spain.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for listening to that.
Probably one of my favorite.
Oh, it's really kind.
Podcasts every day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So one thing I thought you spent a lot of time talking about the things that you did do well on Wednesday. I thought you did a really good job of defending Chicago's bigs initially.
Yes,
like on the post. They were really
totally.
efficient on the post-ups.
Yeah.
But I think in doing so, maybe you sacrifice maybe some offensive rebounding.
Yeah.
So how do you find that balance tonight, knowing how much size you're giving up?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we saw it in the Vegas game. When we utilize more aggressive schemes on these dominant bigs, it's really a case of us with our game planning deciding where do we feel we're going to get hurt the most. Mm-hmm. And because when you are more aggressive, and we're doubling and having different schemes like that, what it means then if there is a shot attempt, you're essentially playing 3-on-4, or you have to really recover out of that double to then be in a good rebounding position. So, I think we decided that in that last game, we decided that the post-up was more important, containing that, and I think we did a really good job in terms of we forced some turnovers out of it, which really helped us. And I think this is why it's great having the second game. We can really fine-tune, tweak everything, and I think there will definitely be some tweaks there just to keep throwing different looks at them tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Wyatt. I'm a former assistant coach, so I pride myself at prep. So I thought I had you figured out. Watching a lot of your games, I'm like, he does not call challenges. So you call challenges when it's going to result in scoring, right?
Exactly. There was one exemption in that last game.
Yeah. So I said that on air a few times. He's not going to challenge this.
No, you're right.
You're
absolutely right.
3 times.
Yeah.
And then you challenged it.
Yeah.
And the play-by-play I was working with
Yeah.
was I thought you said he doesn't.
I think that was the only play all year we've challenged that wasn't some of the points. It was just it was more the nature of the play, and it was more the feel of the game at that moment. I felt like we needed something, and I really felt convicted it was an offensive foul.
Okay.
So normally we don't do that, but it was given the time and score in the game, and it was more, to be honest, I wanted to take the time out and give them a break more than anything else.
Okay.
So
So
you're correct.
saying,
It's
okay.
95% of the time that challenge would not have happened.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw you for a curve.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have is, so I've been watching Emily play since she was in college. I coached against her when she was at
Fantastic.
Syracuse and a little
Yeah.
bit. This is the most, like, in control, like, just the most well-rounded, versatile that I have seen her in her career. I think some of it has to do with just natural maturity, but I
Sure.
also think a lot of it has to do with the system that she's in. What about this system? What about you? What about the staff that has brought out the best in Emily this year?
Yeah, I think it's really just like with all our players, and especially with them, I think it's just trying to put them in the best positions possible to succeed. And I think really when you look at the principles of play, it's a case of, what is M best at, and then how can we utilize that in our offense and in our defense. So I think really it's more about making all the players aware of what we call them their anchors. What are the things they really excel at, which really help the team? And then being as intentional as we can be in film and player development and team practices to amplify, to make sure we're doing those things more. So, when I look at M, I think there's so much versatility there in terms of how we're able to use M offensively and defensively. But we've really emphasized the grab and goes with her in terms of when we come up with a defensive rebound, just initiate the break, get out and run, look for gold medals, rim finishes in transition, and I think she's really picked that up the last few games in particular. And then offense, I think for all our players, learning a new system, but I think for a player like Em, it's with the ability to stretch, especially when we're playing two bigs, it really helps. And then defensively, we've utilized some different covers, like some different junk defenses this year. And I think when Em has like the freedom to help off the ball and just freedom to kind of be the all-time help defender and take calculated gambles, and I say calculated because obviously it's always a fine line between giving up like a very obvious advantage, but then if we feel like we can go for a steal and be in position, those are the ones we want to encourage Em to go for. And I think she's really picking that up, and that's why she's near the top of the league in terms of blocks and steals, especially with her anticipation as a help defender. I think that's really helped our defense this year.
One last thing for me with Emily, I was looking. She had 5 fouls 3 times this year. 2 of the 3 against Chicago. Defensively, how does she handle her assignments tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really it's the flip of. You look at offensive usage, it's kind of defensive usage and the schemes we're using. Emma's in a lot of actions because of like where she's coming from on the floor. So I think what that naturally means is she's in more scenarios where she's coming over as a secondary defender close to the basket or helping on cuts and any situation where we're at a disadvantage. So I think because she's exposed to more of those, then I think the chance to pick up some fouls are there. But I do think it's just something with the whole team. We emphasized a little bit in our last practice in terms of knowing the differences in the areas where we do want to take the risk of getting a foul and where we don't. And I think it's when the opponents are in a dangerous position, like right at our basket with a rim attempt, that's where we can take more risks, and it's more important to protect the rim at all costs. But I think it's other ones where they're in a less threatening position, like there's not an obvious advantage. It's those ones with the whole team where we've just got to be better, with our hands, with our positioning, so we're not kind of like flashing a neon sign to the refs to call something.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Really appreciate the question.